Hey guys, welcome to the channel. As you see in the thumbnail, what if Luffy was biological son of Xebec? Before I start, please do support for more awesome content and subscribe my channel and like this video. The sea was calm around Dawn Island, a rare sight for a land surrounded by unpredictable tides and even more volatile history. Birds chirped. Trees swayed. And for once, peace reigned in Fuchsia village. But for Monkey D. Luffy, Pirate King, conqueror of the seas, hero of Wano, it felt wrong. He sat alone on the small dock, legs dangling over the edge, straw hat pulled low over his eyes. His ship, the Thousand Sunny, was anchored offshore. His crew was enjoying a rare break, laughing and drinking at Makino's bar. Luffy should have been laughing too. But in his hand was a letter. Old, yellowed, and sealed with wax bearing a symbol he didn't recognize, a jagged D pierced by a lightning bolt. The woman who gave it to him had vanished as mysteriously as she appeared. No name, no voice, just a whisper. The truth will find you, boy. Whether you want it or not. He tore it open without thinking. What he read changed everything. You were not born to dragon. You're the son of Rox D. Xebec. 20 years ago. The hidden child. In the final hours of the God Valley incident, the sky was red with fire and the earth trembled from the clash of legends. Garp and Roger stood together, two titans united against a force that threatened the very balance of the world. That force was Rox D. Xebec. Madman. Visionary. Tyrant. His dream wasn't treasure or adventure, it was domination. But even as he was struck down, his final move had already been made. A woman, heavily pregnant, escaped through a hidden passage within the mountain fortress. She carried with her the child of the most dangerous man in history. She ran until her legs gave out and collapsed on the shore of a forgotten island in the calm belt. That child, born under a blood-red moon, didn't cry. He laughed. Back to present. The lie of a lifetime. You okay, Luffy? Makino's voice broke through the silence. She walked up the dock slowly, wiping her hands on her apron. The gentle breeze played with the ends of her hair. Luffy looked up at her, his eyes shadowed. Makino, did you know? She stopped in her tracks. What do you mean? Luffy held up the letter. This. Rox D. Xebec. Says I'm his son. Not dragons. Makino's lips quivered. You weren't supposed to find out like this. So, it's true. She sat beside him, hands clasped in her lap, staring at the sea. When Dragon brought you here. You were just a baby. Wrapped in old robes. He never said much, only that you were important. That you needed to grow up somewhere peaceful. We thought it was because of the revolution. But years later, Garp visited. He looked shaken. Like he'd seen a ghost. Luffy's fingers clenched. I thought I had it figured out. Be Pirate King, find the One Piece, throw a punch at the celestial dragons. But now I find out I'm the son of the man they fear the most. Luffy, Makino said softly, you're not him. Marine HQ. Panic in the shadows. Inside Geoise, the Geoise gathered in their hidden chamber. Lightning split the sky outside. He knows, the elder with the long mustache said, tossing down a photo of Luffy holding the pendant. The others stared in silence. Brock's bloodline lives. Imusama was right to fear him. But we erased every trace after God Valley. This shouldn't be possible. He is more than just a D now. He is the heir to Xebec's will. If he awakens those instincts. Another spoke. He already has the people's hearts. If he learns to control Xebec's legacy, we won't just lose control of the seas. We'll lose the world. Revolutionary Army hideout. A father's confession. Luffy stormed into the forest base without warning. The Revolutionary Guards were stunned to see him, but they didn't stop him. He found Dragon standing alone, overlooking a map of the world. Luffy threw the pendant onto the table. You gonna lie to me too? Dragon's eyes didn't widen. He simply sighed. I was wondering when that would find you. So, it's true? Yes. Why? Dragon turned to face his son. No, the boy he had raised as his son. Because your blood didn't matter to me. Only your heart. That's not your choice to make. Luffy's voice cracked. You should have told me. If I had, would you have lived the same life? Or would you have been hunted from the moment you walked? Luffy's fists shook. I already was. Dragon took a step closer. Luffy. You are not Xebec. You may have his blood, but you are not bound to his sins. You laughed in the face of tyrants. Freed nations. You're more than his shadow. The meeting between legends. The red-haired pirates dropped anchor outside Dawn Island. Luffy sat on a hilltop, still reeling, when a familiar figure approached. Red hair, long cloak, a peaceful grin. Shanks. Shanks tossed him a bottle of sake. Heard you found out. You knew too. Roger told me. Luffy's eyes widened. Shanks sat beside him. Before Roger died, he told me about the child born after God Valley. That the child would one day carry both the power to destroy and the will to liberate. We thought it was Ace. Then we thought maybe it was you. But none of us really knew. Luffy was quiet. I don't want to be him. I don't want to be Xebec. Shanks smiled. You won't be. You're Monkey D. Luffy. That name means more to the world now than Xebec ever did. Luffy looked down at his hand. The pendant shimmered faintly. Then why does this feel like a curse? A new threat. Blackbeard's move. Somewhere on Beehive Island, Blackbeard laughed maniacally as he read the headlines. Zahahaha. So the Straw Hat Brat is the son of Rox D. Xebec. No wonder he's always been a thorn in the world government side. An augur tilted his head. What does this change? Everything. If the world learns that Rock's bloodline never died, chaos will reign again. And if I kill him. Blackbeard slammed his fists together. Then I become the true heir to Xebec's throne. He turned to his crew. Prepare the ship. We're going after the Straw Hat. Nightmare at sea. At night, Luffy dreamt. Flashes of red. Screams. The world on fire. Celestial dragons begging for mercy. A throne atop a mountain of bones. At the center, a man with wild hair and burning eyes. Rox D. Xebec. You carry my blood, boy, the voice hissed. You carry my will. Why do you fight it? Luffy screamed back, because I'm nothing like you. Xebec laughed a horrible echoing sound. You're more like me than you think. The world fears you. Not for who you are. But for what you can become. Morning resolve. Luffy awoke drenched in sweat. The sun was rising. Zoro sat nearby, sharpening his swords. Sanji was already smoking. The rest of the crew had gathered. Nami spoke first. So? Are you quitting being Pirate King? Luffy shook his head. No. Running away? No. He stood up, slowly placing his hat on his head. I don't care whose blood is in my veins. Rox D. Xebec, Dragon, Garp, Roger, I don't care. I'm still me. Zoro smirked. Then let's go. The world's waiting. The world reacts. News spread faster than the wind. Monkey D. Luffy. Son of Rox D. Xebec. The seas erupted with chaos. Pirates rallied, some declaring loyalty, others calling for Luffy's death. The Marines issued a level 10 bounty classification emergency global threat. The celestial dragons panicked. Imu summoned the Geoise. Eradicate him, Imu whispered. Completely. Luffy's new dream. As the Sunny set sail again, Luffy sat at the prow, eyes fixed ahead. Usopp asked quietly, Luffy. Are we still chasing the One Piece? Luffy smiled, that familiar wild grin returning. Yeah. But now. I'm chasing something more. What's that? The world where no one's born cursed. Not by blood. Not by name. Nami blinked. That's huge. Luffy nodded. I'm gonna tear down the world Xebec tried to conquer. And build one where people like me never have to ask who their father was. The seas roar. The Grand Line was rarely still, but today, the ocean itself seemed to sense what was coming. A black shadow broke through the fog as Blackbeard's warship, Saber of Xebec, crept closer to the Thousand Sunny. The Jolly Roger bearing the three skulls flapped violently in the wind. On the deck stood Marshal D. Teach, eyes alight with twisted joy. Zahahaha. Luffy, my brother in blood. Let's see who truly inherited Rox D. Xebec's will. On the Sunny. Captain. Enemy ship approaching. Jin barked, stepping onto the deck. It's him. Luffy stood silently at the helm. His expression unreadable. The letter still burned in his pocket. The pendant hung from his neck, now feeling heavier with each mile sailed. Zoro cracked his knuckles. Figures. He wouldn't miss this chance. Don't go dying, Sanji muttered, lighting a cigarette. Nami glanced at Luffy. You ready? Luffy closed his eyes for a moment. Then smiled. Let's find out who I really am. Meanwhile. Marine HQ. Garp speaks. Inside a heavily guarded chamber, Vice Admiral Monkey D. Garp stood before Fleet Admiral AKAINU, Kizaru, and several vice admirals. He looked older than ever, eyes shadowed with guilt, shoulders heavy with unseen burdens. AKAINU's voice was cold. You knew, didn't you? About Luffy's true heritage. Garp didn't flinch. Of course I knew. The room stiffened. I was there at God Valley. I fought Rox myself. When we took him down, we thought we destroyed everything. But we didn't. We missed something. He paused. The woman. Pregnant. Escaped through the underground tunnels. I never saw her face. But I knew. I felt it. Kizaru blinked. And you let Dragon raise the boy? I couldn't kill a child just because of who his father was. I knew what Rox was. But I also knew that a child isn't their parent. That's the mistake the world government keeps making. AKAINU's voice thundered. That mistake may cost us the world. Garp's eyes narrowed. Or it may save it. Flashback. God Valley, 38 years ago. The battlefield was a massacre. Fallen Marines, shattered cliffs, and fire raining from the heavens. Rox D. Xebec stood at the center, wild, cackling, blood on his hands, his conqueror's HAKI suffocating the island. I am the future of this world. He roared, eyes gleaming. I will erase the celestial dragons. I will reshape reality itself. Garp charged him, fists wrapped in armament HAKI. At his side, Goldie Roger injured but grinning. He's insane. Garp shouted. Yeah, Roger said. But damn, he's strong. The two clashed with Xebec and the world shattered around them. Back to present. At sea the confrontation begins. Two ships faced each other across a sea split by HAKI. Luffy stepped forward, his crew behind him. Across from him, Teach raised his arms. Straw Hat. Did you come to accept your role? Or will you fall like your father did? Luffy's eyes didn't waver. I'm nothing like him. Teach grinned. You sure about that? He raised his hand, darkness coiled like a living serpent. I've accepted who I am. You're still running. The sea cracked between them as both men unleashed Conqueror's HAKI, a black and red storm rippling the sky. Fish leapt from the water in terror. Clouds split. Waves trembled. Luffy activated Gear 5, his form shifting, stretching comically but radiating godlike power. A massive sun-shaped aura pulsed behind him. Blackbeard activated both his Yami Yami no Mi and Gura Gura no Mi. Reality bent around him. Space cracked like glass. Battle of inherited wills. Luffy launched first a rubberized punch coated in divine HAKI, spiraling toward Teach like a comet. Blackbeard countered with a quake-infused palm, colliding midair. The explosion tore through the ocean. Luffy zipped around, body glowing, laughter echoing in chaos. You'll never be the king, Teach. You're stuck in the past. Blackbeard snarled. I am the past. The future. I will finish what Rock started. Luffy's fists became giant, he spun them like turbines, raining down fists like a god of war. Teach created a black hole, swallowing the attacks. You fight like him, Teach grunted. You feel like him. You are him. I'm Luffy. The Straw Hat roared. Meanwhile, Garp reveals the final secret. Back in Marineford, Garp's voice grew softer. There was more. Rox wasn't always a monster. Silence fell. He was once a revolutionary. He hated the celestial dragons more than anyone. But somewhere along the way, he fell. He began to believe that only through domination could he fix the world. He wanted to rule it. Not free it. He looked up. Luffy might have been born from that blood, but everything about him. That's his choice. That's freedom. The turning point. On the battlefield, Blackbeard landed a devastating blow, his quake punch shattering the sea and sending Luffy into the air. Give up, brat. You don't even know what you are. Luffy coughed blood. Lightning crackled around him. The pendant around his neck glowed. He saw flashes, Xebec standing over corpses. Xebec yelling at Roger. Xebec laughing at Garp. And then something new. A vision. Xebec, standing before a crying infant, whispering. They'll never let you be free. So become the storm they can't control. Luffy gasped, then grinned. No, he said, floating midair. I'll be the sun that melts the whole system down. He dove forward faster than sound, coated in awakened HAKI, his fist enormous. Gomu Gomu no. Blackbeard tried to counter, darkness urged, space shattered. Badger rising dawn. Luffy's attack obliterated the front of Blackbeard's ship. The skies cleared. Teach was sent flying, crashing into the sea. The sea went silent. Aftermath. A new kind of inheritance. Blackbeard's crew scrambled to recover their captain. The saber of Xebec fled into the distance. On the sunny, Luffy stood with the wind in his hair, holding the pendant in his palm. Robin walked over. That vision. The pendant. It's an ancient memory seal. Rox must have put a fragment of his essence in it. Why? Luffy asked. To pass on his will. Luffy looked at the broken sky. Well, I saw it. And I'm not following it. He crushed the pendant in his hand. Marineford. AKAINU's wrath. Luffy defeated Teach, a Marine reported. AKAINU clenched his fists, smoke rising from his shoulders. That boy. He'll burn the world. Garp turned. No, he said. He'll rebuild it. Ending scene. The path forward. As the Thousand Sunny sailed forward, Luffy leaned on the rail, smiling. Zoro stood beside him. So. You're Xebec's kid. Yup. You still annoying. Luffy laughed. Yup. Zoro smirked. Then you're still our captain. In the distance, Elbaf rose on the horizon, the next step. But somewhere. Deep beneath Mariajois, Imu stared at a mural. 5 figures stood painted there. Joy Boy. Rox. Roger. Luffy. And an empty figure. The 6th. The one to come. The true storm is yet to arrive. A new world. The fog cleared as the Thousand Sunny passed between 2 towering cliffs carved in the image of warriors, spears in hand, watching over the sea. Beyond them lay a sprawling green valley flanked by titanic trees and snow-draped peaks. Elbaf. So this is the land of the giants. Whispered Usopp, eyes wide. The air itself felt heavier, ancient. Sacred. Giants gathered on the cliffs and hills, roaring with excitement at the arrival of the Straw Hat crew. Many had heard of the pirate who defeated Kaido, toppled emperors, and now was rumored to be the son of the one who once dared challenge the world. Monkey D. Luffy. Heir to both chaos and freedom. A giant bellowed. Boy. Don't say that out loud. Luffy scratched his head. A royal welcome. They were greeted at the gates by Prince Loki, no longer the arrogant brat of the past. Now, he was armored, calm, and respectful. Welcome, Straw Hat, he said, extending a massive hand. Elbaf owes you. You freed Wano. You embarrassed the celestial dragons. And now. The Tree of Truth calls for you. The Tree of what now? Sanji blinked. Loki pointed beyond the cliffs where a trunk as wide as a mountain pierced the clouds. The oldest tree in the world. It predates the void century. Beneath it lies a truth even we were once forbidden to speak. Robin's eyes lit up. The ancient kingdom. Loki nodded gravely. In the shadow of the tree. The Straw Hats followed Loki and the giant scholars through winding cliffs to a hidden cavern carved at the base of the world tree. The stone doors were massive, etched with languages older than the poneglyphs. Your blood opens it, Loki said. Luffy frowned. Why mine? You carry a resonance, Robin muttered. From both Xebec and Joy Boy. The pendant around Luffy's neck, what remained of it, vibrated faintly. The doors cracked open. The Chamber of Echoes. Inside was a vast underground chamber, quiet, glowing with soft blue light. On its far end stood a half-broken stone terminal, with a pool of still water reflecting the ceiling. As Luffy stepped closer, the pool glowed. From it, a holographic figure emerged. He looked young, wild-haired, eyes full of fire. He looked a little like Luffy. If you're seeing this, the voice said, then the world has not yet been freed. Robin gasped. That's him. That's Joy Boy. The vision continued. The world was once united. Until they came the gods who enslaved it. I failed to stop them. And another will rise. Luffy stepped closer. You're like me, huh? They will fear you. They will say you are evil. That you are a weapon. That your blood must be erased. Because you are not one of them. You are the storm. But also the sun. The truth. Joy Boy and Xebec. The next projection was jarring. It showed Rox D. Xebec standing before a throne, surrounded by destruction. He was not my heir, Joy Boy's voice said. He was the first failure. Luffy's face dropped. Xebec had the strength. The vision. But he lost the joy. The freedom. He sought to rule, not liberate. So I hid my true will. I scattered it. I waited. One day, another would be born. One who would laugh in the face of destiny. And wear a straw hat. The image flickered. To you, bearer of both chaos and freedom. I leave the truth. Rewrite it. The vision ended. Luffy's realization. Luffy stood silently, staring at the dark water. His reflection stared back. Zoro folded his arms. So. Rox was a mistake. Robin nodded. He tried to take Joy Boy's mission. But corrupted it. Usopp muttered, and now Luffy's got both their legacies. That's heavy. Luffy slowly smiled. Then I'll fix it. Meanwhile. Mary Geoise, panic rising. Imu stood before the five elders. Behind him, hidden beneath the city, giant machinery rumbled to life. It's confirmed, an elder said. He accessed the tree. Imu's eyes burned. Then the world must be burned clean. They activated Uranus protocol, a satellite weapon hidden in the sky above the red line. A single command. Eradicate Monkey D. Luffy. Destroy Elbaf. Assault from the heavens. Clouds darkened unnaturally. Thunder rolled over Elbaf. The giants looked up and saw the sky bleeding. What the hell is that? Frankie shouted. A giant column of light slammed into the Tree of Truth, exploding in a thunderous quake. Debris flew for miles. Entire cliffs shattered. Luffy covered his crew with a massive gear 5th shield, his laugh echoing across the chaos. He gritted his teeth. They tried to erase it. Robin was shaking. The knowledge. It's all gone. No, Luffy said, standing tall. Not gone. He tapped his chest. I saw it. I remember it. I am it now. Retaliation. From the ruins of the tree, giants rallied. Luffy leapt into the air, his body glowing with lightning, fire, and laughter. A second beam fired from the clouds. He grinned. Gomu Gomu no. Sky rejection. His fist, massive, glowing with HAKI and dawnfire, collided with the beam and shattered it mid-air. The sky split. The clouds were burned away. Elbaf unites with the Straw Hats. Prince Loki knelt. The tree chose you. You carry Joy Boy's truth and the fire to burn their lies. Elbaf will follow you. Luffy turned to his crew. Vakama. It's time. Zoro smirked. We gonna rewrite the world. Hell yeah. Final scene. A new goal. Luffy stared at the horizon. First the One Piece. Then the world government. He pulled his hat down. I'll finish what Joy Boy started. Not as Xebec's son. But as me. The den mushy eyes blinked open across the world, transmissions forced into castles, marine bases, newsrooms, and streets. The man stood at the center of a wind-blown cliff. Behind him was a black flag bearing a dragon coiled around a shattered crown. He was silent for several seconds. Then he spoke. I am Monkey D. Dragon. Leader of the Revolutionary Army. Yesterday, the world government launched an ancient weapon against Elbaf, targeting my son. Monkey D. Luffy. The world froze. They destroyed the Tree of Truth. They tried to silence knowledge. But they failed. And so today this is not a warning. This is a declaration. His eyes sharpened, voice like steel. The era of kings is over. The revolution begins now. Hamabaka Kingdom. Gathering of fire. Inside the rose room of Ivankov's castle, revolutionary commanders pored over maps. Dials blinked. Orders flew. Sabo returned from the front line, cloak scorched, face hard. Dragons made his move, he said. No more shadows. No more whispers. Polis stared at him. You were with Luffy on Dressrosa. You think he'll stand with us now? Sabo nodded. He doesn't care about titles. But he'll fight for people. That's enough. News bursts across the seas. Dragon declares war. Sabo leads assault on Red Line. Luffy confirmed as Dragon's son and Xebec's heir. In Alabasta, Vivi stared at the paper, trembling. He's not Xebec, she said. He's the boy who saved my country. In Drum Kingdom, Dalton stood from his desk. Get ready to support. In the South Blue, pirates burned marine banners. In West Blue, revolutionaries rose from slums. The world was unraveling, and in its place, something new was being born. Holy Land Marriage-wa. The Geoise stood before Imu's throne. The mood was frantic. They're mobilizing across the blues, one elder said. If we lose the allied nations. Then we use the cleansing, another said coldly. Imu rose, robes flowing unnaturally. No face. Only a voice, calm, inhuman. Let the revolution come. Let them dream of freedom. Then crush it beneath divine fire. Flashpoint. Sabo's assault. In the shadows of the Red Line, Sabo led a team of elite commanders through an underground waterway long believed lost. At the end of the tunnel was a marine base, one of the supply lines that kept the celestial dragons fed and fat. Sabo's pipe crackled with armament HAKI. Ready to cut the leash? Karasu nodded, mist swirling. Always. They stormed the base, quiet as ghosts, swift as lightning. Explosions rocked the cliffside. A marine vice admiral tried to rally his forces only to fall under Sabo's burning fist. Within minutes, the celestial port of Virgo was in flames. Busha village. Garp reacts. In a quiet corner of Dawn Island, Garp stood with arms crossed as Makino handed him the paper. He didn't speak. Didn't blink. Only clenched his jaw. So it begins. On the sunny after Elbaf. The Straw Hat sailed into calmer waters, but the storm followed them. Nami held the paper up. He did it. Dragons gone public. Usopp looked nervous. Luffy. You think the Marines'll come after us harder now? They were already coming, Zoro muttered. Now we just know who's serious. Luffy said nothing at first. He stood at the bow, hat down, pendant gone. Then he spoke. He's fighting for people who can't. That's all I need to know. Sanji crossed his arms. So what now? Luffy turned, grinning. We don't follow him. We fight beside him. Revolution around the world. In islands forgotten by the world government, rebel cells erupted. Noble houses were overthrown. Slavers run off their lands. In the North Blue, a new admiral defected carrying with him knowledge of CP0 operations. In the Grand Line, Fishman Island declared its independence, citing Luffy as the true leader of the sea. In the skies above Skypia, Enel returned, but this time, to offer power to the revolution. The D's were rising. Dragon's second message. Another Den mushy broadcast came a day later. This time, it was aimed at the Marines. To every soldier who believes in justice. Your government just fired a weapon on innocent people. You are not the enemy. But if you stand in the way of freedom, you will fall with the tyrants. This is your final chance. Cipher Pole Zero moves. In the shadows of Marriage-wa, Rob Lucci and the mask agents of CP0 met with the Geoise. Lucci's eyes narrowed. We underestimated the boy. He's not just a Pirate King contender. He's a symbol now. An elder replied, then symbols must bleed. Back on the sunny. Night fell. The crew sat around a fire on the deck. Brooke played a soft tune. Robin looked up. Do you ever wonder why this is happening now? Luffy shrugged. Maybe the world was always broken. Now it's just louder. Frankie nodded. Guess it's time we break it more. Luffy chuckled. Let's make enough noise to shake the stars. Final scene. Across the sea. Dragon stood atop the revolutionary flagship. Wind howled. Lightning split the sky. In his hand was a sealed scroll ancient, etched with a red D. He turned to Sabo. He'll do it. He'll reach the end. But first. We open the gates of Marriagewa. Prologue 800 years ago. The skies over the Grand Line were golden. Not from the sun but from the light of the Tree of Dawn, the massive counterpart to the Tree of Eve and Tree of Knowledge. It stood at the center of the world, roots deep in the ocean floor, branches brushing the clouds. It was said that whoever touched its crown could glimpse the will of the world. Beneath it stood Joy Boy tall, smiling, crowned not by gold but by the laughter of the people around him. Beside him stood Imu, cloaked in white. Neither man nor woman, only a being wrapped in duty and silence. Imu watched, cold eyes reflecting light. The people are happy, Joy Boy said. And as long as they are, our mission is complete. You trust them too much, Imu replied. One day, this freedom you've granted will unravel everything. Joy Boy simply smiled. Then we'll guide them again. Not rule, guide. But Imu saw something else. Fragility. View the ancient alliance. The room was round, 12 thrones circling a single dais. At the center stood the 3 guardians of the will. Joy Boy, bearer of the sun god's will. Nefertari D. Lily, empress of the sand and keeper of the ancient texts. Rox D. Xebec, a brute of chaos and liberty. And then there was Imu, observer, silent guardian. Joy Boy spoke to them. The world must never fall to rulers again. We've seen what happens when kings claim divinity. He reached into a crystal urn and pulled forth 3 fragment shards of a forgotten poneglyph, glowing with power. These are the keys. One for each of you. If even one of us falls, the truth can be restored. Xebec grinned. If someone tries to play God again, I'll tear the world down myself. Imu looked at the shard in their hand, then hid it beneath their cloak. You've made your choice, Imu whispered. So have I. End the betrayal. It came not with war, but with silence. Imu sealed the Tree of Dawn in black flame. The root shriveled. The people were told Joy Boy vanished. In truth, he was betrayed. Imu used the shards to summon an ancient weapon, Uranus, and turned it upon Joy Boy's ship as it fled toward the surface. Lily tried to stop it, sending the final letters to Alabasta, warning the future. Xebec was too late. He arrived to find Joy Boy dying, mortally wounded on the shore of what would one day be called Laugh Tale. Imu. They betrayed us, Joy Boy gasped. Xebec fell to his knees, blood on his hands. Not his. Joy Boy's. I'll make them pay. Even if the seas turn black. Even if the world forgets your name. Joy Boy smiled through tears. Not vengeance. Just pass on the will. This void century erased. The victors rewrote history. Imu rose to the empty throne alone, unseen. The world government was formed and 20 kingdoms bowed. The name Joy Boy was struck from the stone. The name Xebec was cursed. Only a few fragments remained. Present-day giant Tree of Truth, Elbaf remnant. The last sapling of the Tree of Truth whispered to Luffy. Robin translated the runes glowing in the bark. This isn't just Joy Boy's memory. It's the world's memory, she whispered. The crew listened in silence as Joy Boy's voice echoed. If you're hearing this, then Imu still rules. I was betrayed by one I called a brother. My dream was never domination. It was freedom for all. Xebec will be remembered as a demon. But he was my sword. My friend. Luffy stood still. Nami looked at him. Luffy. Your father was dragon. But your blood's from Xebec. Luffy's hat shadowed his eyes. So what? I don't care who they were. He stepped forward, touching the sapling. I'm Luffy. I'll finish what they started. But I'll do it my way. Percent Dragon's war room. Dragon listened to the same recording relayed from Robin's dial. He clenched his fists. Sabo sat beside him, stunned. Xebec was no hero, Sabo muttered. Dragon replied, he wasn't a villain either. He fought a corrupt world. His methods were chaos but his cause was just. Kola whispered, then. Luffy is the bridge between Joy Boy and Xebec. Dragon looked out the window, wind tearing through the sails of the Revolution's flagship. He is the storm. Oh, who was Xebec? Flashbacks ripple through Luffy's mind, visions from the tree's memory. Xebec furious, laughing, hurling kings from their thrones, but always standing against Imu. He wasn't insane, he was desperate. They made a god out of a traitor, Xebec had screamed. You want peace? Burn the throne. Luffy saw it. Xebec was the rage of a broken dream. Joy Boy was its heart. Now both burned in him. The revelation, the true purpose of the One Piece. The final message etched into the bark. The One Piece is the world's memory. The truth of everything we lost. Only the one who brings laughter to the world's tears can claim it. These are not destroyers. They are Dawnbringers. Luffy's eyes widened. He remembered laughing on the deck, laughing in pain, laughing in defiance. Then I guess I'm the right one, he grinned. But Imu in the present. Within Pangaea Castle, Imu sat alone on the empty throne. Behind them, the 5 elders waited. Imu's hands trembled just once. Joy Boy has returned. And Xebec's child. Then I will finish what I started. Arrows, black cloak trailing shadows. Percent the flame of rebellion spreads. Nations rise. Alabasta declares alliance with the revolutionary army. Vivi returns, scar on her cheek, fire in her eyes. Brum Kingdom expels world government envoys. Skypia drops eternal dials loaded with messages of truth across the blues. The world is no longer whispering. It's screaming. Luffy's decision. Sitting on the mast of the Sunny, wind howling around him, Luffy closed his eyes. Zoro approached, leaning against the wood. You okay? Luffy nodded. I know what I have to do now. Zoro grinned. About time. Luffy clenched his fist. I'm not Joy Boy. I'm not Xebec. I'm Monkey D. Luffy. And I'm gonna free this whole damn world. Next move. War. The revolutionaries begin moving toward Mary Geoise. So do the Straw Hats. So do Shanks. So do Blackbeard. The world stands at the brink. And at the center of it all is the boy who carries the will of two fallen kings. The clouds gathered. Not in thunder or rain but in silence, heavy as fate. The revolutionary army's main base Kamabaka Kingdom was buzzing like a storm nest. Men and women moved like shadows, preparing for the largest operation in history. And above it all, Monkey D. Dragon stood at the cliff, cloak whipping in the wind. Behind him walked Sabo, carrying the eternal pose Luffy had sent. He's coming. Dragon closed his eyes. So the son of Xebec comes to meet the son of the storm. Sabo blinked. You mean your son? Dragon said nothing. The wind answered. Sense thousand Sunny approaching Kamabaka. Luffy stood on the deck. Arms crossed. Straw Hat shadowing his eyes. Sanji, Zoro, Robin, Jinbei, and Nami stood with him, all tense. They'd learned the truth. Luffy was born of Xebec's bloodline. Dragon was his adoptive father. Imu had betrayed Joy Boy, sparking the void century. Chopper looked up at Luffy. You okay? Luffy didn't smile. I don't know. Robin placed a hand on his shoulder. You're about to meet the man who raised you from the shadows. Even if he's the son of the storm. You're the storm itself now, Luffy. Oh, flashback the night Luffy was born. In the ruins of a war-torn village on the edge of North Blue. Brox D. Xebec lay dying. The world government had ambushed him with Uranus again. But in his arms, wrapped in tattered cloth, was a crying infant. Dragon appeared through the smoke much younger, face full of resolve, not yet the hardened rebel he would become. Take him, Xebec coughed, blood staining his teeth. He has my fire. But he'll need your wind. Dragon hesitated. Why me? Xebec smiled, madness and peace in his eyes. Because you don't want the world destroyed. But you want it freed. He placed the baby in Dragon's arms. Name him whatever you want. But let him laugh. That night, Xebec died. And Luffy was born to the storm. The Kamabaka the meeting. 1,000 Sunny docked. Dragon waited at the edge of the cliff, back turned. Luffy leapt from the ship and landed before him, arms at his sides. The rest of the crew stayed back. They stared at each other in silence. You knew, Luffy said. I did. You lied. I did. Luffy's fists trembled. Why? Dragon turned fully. His eyes storm gray met Luffy's. Because I didn't want you to be like him. Xebec. Me. Luffy blinked. Dragon stepped forward. You're the child of a man who almost destroyed the world. And the weapon Joy Boy trusted to destroy tyranny. If the world government found you, they'd never stop. So you left me with Garp. Luffy said. The only man strong enough to protect you and stubborn enough to keep you free. Luffy gritted his teeth. You had no right to choose my life. Dragon nodded. I didn't. And I'm sorry. Silence. Then Luffy said something unexpected. Thank you. Dragon blinked. What? Luffy looked up at the clouds. If you hadn't done that, I wouldn't have my crew. I wouldn't have sailed. I wouldn't have laughed. But now I know the truth. He turned back to Dragon, eyes burning. Now I'm going to destroy that damn throne. Situation room, Dragon's war table. The war room was filled with maps, ciphered scrolls, and moving markers. Sabo, Ivankov, and Kola stood around as Dragon and Luffy entered. We've identified 5 choke points in Mary Geoise, Sabo began. But security has tripled. The elders know something's coming. Kola unrolled a scroll. Imu hasn't shown themselves in public. But we've received whispers someone matching their silhouette has been seen inside the Hall of Thrones. Constantly. Luffy looked at the maps. What's the fastest way to punch Imu in the face? Robin smirked. Dragon actually smiled. Sabo pointed. The lift system. But it's guarded by Seraphim and CP0. We'd need a 2-pronged assault. Jinbei stepped forward. Then the Straw Hats take the front. We break in loud. Zoro grinned. Sounds fun. Robin said softly, and I'll find the final poneglyph. Luffy slammed his fist into his palm. We're ending this. Percent Dragon's truth. Later that night, under the moonlight, Luffy sat alone. Dragon approached, no cloak, just a father. You remind me of him. Xebec. Luffy said nothing. Dragon sat beside him. But not his rage. His hope. That's what terrified the world government. A man with power who still believed in freedom. Luffy looked down. Did he love me? Dragon paused. He died smiling. That's all I can tell you. Luffy smiled. Then I'll smile too. All the way to the end. Oh, meanwhile, red-haired Shanks. On his ship, looking at the horizon, Shanks held a den mushi. He's finally learned the truth. Then Beckman lit a cigar. Think, he's ready. Shanks grinned. He's Joy Boy. He's Xebec. He's Dragon. But most importantly, he's Luffy. Imu Marriagewa. Imu watched the skies through the stained glass of the Hall of Thrones. The 5 elders knelt. He's coming. Imu's voice was ice. Let him. The world forgot what true power is. It's time they remembered. Behind the throne, a massive shadow moved, the true form of Uranus, partially awakened. The Luffy's creed. Before dawn, Luffy stood before his crew and the Revolutionary Army. They stole 1,000 years from us. They killed Joy Boy. They used Xebec as their demon. He clenched his fist. Now it's our turn. We don't want thrones. We don't want crowns. We want the world to be free to laugh again. And if they don't like it. He smiled. We'll knock their whole damn sky down. The red line towered above the sea like a curse carved into the earth, a divine scar separating the world, a monument to tyranny. From the shadows of clouds above it, thousands of meters in the sky aboard Thousand Sunny, Monkey D. Luffy stood silently at the bow. His straw hat, once Shanks, once Rogers, flapped against the roaring wind. But beneath it was no longer the goofy, wide-eyed rubber boy the world knew. He was now many things. Pirate King candidate. Joy Boy's chosen. Brox D. Xebec's blood heir. And the storm destined to tear down the heavens. Behind him stood his Nakama. Beside him hovered Dragon, leader of the Revolutionary Army, and the man he had only recently learned was his true father. To his other side, Sabo, scarred but burning with justice. And finally Nico Robin, the only person alive who had read all 4 poneglyphs and understood what this day truly meant. Once we go in, Dragon said, there's no turning back. Luffy grinned. Good. I've been waiting to punch the sky. Phase 1. Strike the red wall. From the rear skies, massive airships shadowed by clouds emerged. Revolutionary war blimps, carried by modified Vegapunk tech, roared to life. Below, Sea Kings cried as Poseidon's will stirred the ocean in rebellion. Open the gates, Dragon ordered into his den mushi. Deploy all units. Garp's alive. We take back the world today. Sabo slammed his hand into the steel floor and the metal sizzled under his fingertips. From within their own ship, the Straw Hats readied for war. Zoro sharpened Enma one last time. Sanji tightened his raid suit, thinking of his sister Ryaiju. Jin commanded the fishmen underwater to begin their push. Frankie screamed. Kuta burst to the throne. Nami looked to the storm clouds and whispered. Witheria, give me hell. 1,000 Sunny soared through the air like a bullet shot from a god's rifle aimed straight at Marriagewa. Holy Land Marriagewa. Celestial panic. Inside the Pangaea castle, alarms screamed. Celestial dragons staggered out of their beds, dragging their slaves behind them, screaming nonsense at the guards. What is that? It's Monkey D. Luffy. He's flying. No. That's the Revolutionary Army too. The celestial noble collapsed into his servant's arms. This is the day the prophecy spoke of, the son of the devil and the Pirate King reborn. In the throne room, Geoise Saint Saturn stood calm. We expected this, he muttered. Deploy the Seraphim. CP0, begin assassination protocol. No survivors. Beside him, an eerie silence filled the air. The presence was watching. Imu sat atop the empty throne, draped in shadows and still as death. He said nothing. But the room dropped 10 degrees. Even Saturn seemed to shiver. Your Majesty, Saturn said carefully, shall we prepare Uranus? Imu's response was not a word but the echo of thunder from above. Phase 2. Enter the demons. Sunny smashed through the protective barrier of Marriagewa, flames spewing from its lion's mouth. Luffy leapt from the prow like a cannonball. Gomu Gomu no. Gigant. His form ballooned into a titan faster than light and 30 meters tall. He slammed into the holy city gates. Boom. The walls cracked. Not completely. But the message was clear. He was here. The first to greet them were CP0 masked assassins of the world government. Rob Lucci, cloak flowing, eyes calm. Haku, sword drawn. Stussy, wings flared. You came to die, Straw Hat Lucci hissed. Luffy cracked his knuckles. You should have stayed in Egghead. Fights ignite. Zoro vs Lucci. A long-awaited rematch. Lucci unleashed his awakened form again, but Zoro's control over Enma and his conqueror's HAKI had evolved. Sparks flew with every clash. Sanji and Sabo vs Seraphim Kuma and S-Hawk. The clones moved like nightmares, faster, colder. But Sabo and Sanji's synergy brought fiery brilliance and lightning precision. Robin vs Saturn. Deep within the palace, Robin faced her greatest fear, Geoise. Saturn, in his monster spider bull form, whispered secrets of O'Hara's death. Robin didn't flinch. She was ready to bury her trauma. Garp's imprisonment below the castle. AKAINU stood guard outside a steel prison. Within it, chained and bleeding, sat Monkey D. Garp. The old man grinned despite his broken ribs. "So. You finally picking a side, cousin?" AKAINU stayed silent. Ice spread beneath his feet. But his hand trembled. Then the floor exploded. "Grandpa?" Luffy's voice thundered through the corridor. He landed between AKAINU and the cell, eyes burning. Garp coughed, laughed. "Heh. Took you long enough, brat." AKAINU stepped forward. "Don't make me fight you." Luffy didn't raise his fists. Instead, he said. "You always said justice isn't blind. So open your eyes." A pause. AKAINU lowered his hand. "I'll give you 10 minutes. After that I don't know what I'll do." Meanwhile, Vegapink's secret activates. Far away, a hidden signal emitted from the sea broadcast from a stealth submarine operated by Vegapink's last loyal clone, Atlas. The Seraphim unit suddenly staggered mid-battle. The voice echoed in their minds. "Protocol override. Off code. Dr. Stella. New directive. Protect Monkey D. Luffy." S-Hawk turned his blade away from Sanji. Kuma stopped mid-strike. The battlefield froze for a heartbeat. Lucci's eyes widened. The Seraphim. They're changing sides. Sabo grinned. "Vegapink played you all." Fleet arrives. Explosions echoed in the skies above. Dozens of ships appeared over the clouds. The Straw Hat Grand Fleet had arrived. Bartolomeo, laughing and flaming, raised the Straw Hat flag. Cavendish in full Hakuba mode raced across the battlefield. Sai's ship smashed into the red line with seismic cannons. A single loudspeaker voice screamed. "All hail our Captain Straw Hat Luffy. Today, we make the sky bleed." The soul of a father. Amid the chaos, deep beneath the ruins of Mariajois, Jewelry Bonnie sprinted through a hidden laboratory, the very one where Bartholomew Kuma had been modified, erased, and enslaved. She had one goal. To recover her father's soul. Lights flickered, machines sparked, and the faint hum of pain resonated from a containment tube marked PX0. Final phase. Bonnie burst through the security doors, dragging with her a bruised Sentomaru, and rushed to the console. "Where is it?" she demanded. "Where's the memory drive?" Sentomaru coughed, then pointed to a core chamber locked behind sea stone bars. "It's there." Vegapink hid it. "Your father's soul. What's left of it. Is in that crystal. If you can reconnect it, he might come back." Tears burned down Bonnie's face. "I'm going to save you, Dad. Even if it kills me." She shattered the sea stone lock with a special aging pulse, snatched the glowing soul drive, and placed it in her chest. Using her devil fruit, she accelerated her age into a matured time-bending form, her body glowing with temporal energy. The soul drive fused into her, and the lab pulsed. Outside, the Seraphim Kuma roared, and for the first time, he spoke. "Bonnie. I remember." Uranus awakens. Up above, within the Sanctum of Thrones, the temperature dropped as a towering vault opened. Inside rested the final ancient weapon. Uranus. Not a ship like Pluton. Not a beast like Poseidon. A celestial device, an ark of destruction that could summon storms from the stars, a gift of the Void Century's darkest mind. Imu, cloaked in void and wearing the crown of the Dawnless Age, placed their hand on its control sphere. It's time this world remembered why the gods were feared. The sky split. Above Mary Geoise, the clouds burned away as a massive ring-shaped structure emerged, hovering like a divine guillotine. Luffy looked up. "What the hell is that?" Dragon's eyes widened. "No. It can't be." Then a single beam of celestial lightning tore through the air and obliterated an entire wing of the revolutionary fleet. Thousands of soldiers gone in an instant. "We have to move." Sanji yelled, dragging Usopp and Chopper to safety. Frankie screamed from the deck. "That thing's got satellite targeting, we're sitting ducks." Imu versus the new era. Suddenly, the throne room exploded outward. And from the smoke emerged Imu, not cloaked, not hidden. Imu had no gender, no age, no mercy. Their forms shimmered with ancient tech fused with pure HAKI, the original user of Conqueror's sovereignty. Imu was not just a ruler. Imu was the first tyrant of history, Joy Boy's original betrayer, and Xebec's eternal rival. Their voice echoed like 10 people speaking in one. "You dare bring war to the land of gods? Then let the blood of devils rain from the skies." Luffy stepped forward. And smiled. I don't care if you're God. I'm Monkey D. Luffy. I'm the man who's gonna kick your ass. The Awakening. Joy Boy meets Xebec. As Uranus prepared a second volley, Luffy closed his eyes. Memory surged. The throne made of bones in Hachinosu, where Xebec once roared. Laughs in Wano, where Joy Boy's smile lingered in the walls of Onigashima. The voice of the sea, calling him Nika. The hate of the sky, calling him D. And in that moment Luffy laughed. A loud, ridiculous, joyful laugh that cut through the tension. His body began to shine gold and black. His heartbeat accelerated. Doom. Doom. Da-dum. Doom. Doom. Da-dum. Dear. Fifth. But this time, it wasn't just Nika. This was a fusion of ancient chaos and pure freedom. Luffy's form grew wild and chaotic, one eye gold, the other red. The long black coat billowed behind him. Chains made of shadow and rubber floated from his wrists. The golden crown of flame shimmered over his hat. Zoro whispered, he looks like a demon god. Robin whispered, no. He looks like Joy Boy and Rock Xebec had a child. Monkey D. Luffy, heir of the storm. Imu moved first, striking Luffy with a dark blade forged from condensed hatred. But Luffy grinned and caught the blade with his bare hand, rubber stretching around the edge. Gomu no. Chaos Bell. He slammed his head into Imu's chest. A wave of Conqueror's HAKI exploded outward. Imu staggered. Then Luffy reached into the air, caught the lightning from Uranus itself, and spun it into a rope. He lassoed the weapon out of the sky. And in one impossibly absurd, godlike motion, he swung Uranus into the ground like a meteor. Boom. The Holy Land shook. The stars dimmed. And the world watched as the most feared weapon of the celestial dragons was torn from the sky and hurled into the red line. Beneath the throne. Smoke choked the golden corridors of Pangaea Castle. What was once sacred was now battlefield. The screams of celestial dragons echoed through marble hallways as they were dragged from their silken chambers and shackled by revolutionary forces. Sabo kicked open a golden door, his Maramara no Mi blazing, and shouted. Drag the gods into the dirt where they belong. Behind him, Kola, Lindbergh, Karasu and Morley followed, flames rising higher with each step. But deep within the castle, a ritual chamber rumbled. Inside, the Geoise stood in a circle, casting off their human forms. No longer masked in suits or words, they revealed their true cursed selves, beasts shaped from the void century, guardians of Imu, and wielders of ancient devil fruits beyond comprehension. One by one, they transformed. Saint Saturn, a horrifying ox-like demon with rings of flame and void around his horns. Saint Jupiter became a massive gluttonous war leech, with 1,000 tendrils of HAKI draining slime. Saint Warcury roared into a stone titan with celestial glyphs carved into his chest, wielding a spear taller than a ship mast. Saint Venus Euro shifted into a phantom wolf with eyes that consumed light, his sword slicing dimensions. Saint Marcus Mars, his body turned into swirling stardust, radiating cosmic madness. They stepped forward together, their fused HAKI creating a barrier of divine pressure. This is the end of your revolution. But then, a voice replied. No. It's only the beginning. Dragon vs. Saturn. Wrath of the Typhoon. On the eastern plaza, Saturn descended like a curse from the heavens, his hooves cracking stone and sending marines flying. Facing him stood Monkey D. Dragon, his coat swirling with storm winds, eyes glowing green. The revolutionary commander stepped forward and raised his hand. The skies responded. A cyclone of wind, lightning, and fire erupted around him. Saturn bellowed, "You are the mistake of this world." Dragon's reply was simple. "Then I'm here to rewrite the world." The two titans clashed. Saturn sent out a gravity shockwave, warping the battlefield into a pit of collapsed reality. Dragon hurled a windstorm spear, slicing mountains of debris in half. Their HAKI collided, turning soldiers to ash just by standing too close. For the first time in centuries, a celestial dragon bled as Dragon's punch shattered one of Saturn's horns, spraying violet blood across the battlefield. Zoro vs. Venus Juro. Swords of Time. Elsewhere in the chaos, Uranus Zoro broke through enemy lines, carving down seraphim clones with breathless fury. Then, from the ruins of the sacred garden, descended Saint Venus Juro, his cursed katana trailing tears of the void. "You carry the scent of Ryuminus," Juro growled, "but you are not him." Zoro lowered Wado Ichimonji, Enma, and Sandai Katetsu. He smiled. "No. I'm the man who'll surpass him." This Juro's first slash sliced the air, creating a vacuum that split 3 towers in half. Zoro vanished, then reappeared behind him, swords coated in black and green HAKI. Three-sword style. Death Tiger slash. Their blades met. Steel screamed. Time itself cracked. And in that moment, Zoro pushed himself into a new realm of swordsmanship where each slash echoed like a roar from the past. Akiji's choice. At the outer wall, Fleet Admiral AKAINU had arrived, molten fists ending revolutionary squads by the dozens. But standing in his way was Kuzenai Kiji, cloaked in frost, his hand resting lazily on his sword of ice. They stared at each other. "Still a traitor?" AKAINU growled. Kuzen sighed. "No. I just picked the side that didn't burn everything it touched." AKAINU roared, magma erupting from his fists, but Aokiji countered with a wave of frost so cold it froze the lava midair. Their fists met. And time stopped. Aokiji's mind flickered to memories. Robin smiling aboard the Sunny, Luffy's ridiculous laughter, Saul's voice under falling boulders. Then, he whispered. "I once served justice. Now I fight for freedom." And he struck. Luffy versus the Celestial Crown. Back at the plaza, Luffy stood alone, facing the recovering form of Imu. The self-proclaimed god was furious, cracks along their body, shadows warping their limbs. "You shouldn't exist," Imu hissed. Luffy pulled back his fist, black, gold, and red HAKI swirling together. "Funny," he grinned. "I was just thinking the same about you." He leapt. Fist cocked back. Imu raised a blade of cursed light. Then. Flash. Sky split. Red line trembled. The final war. Had truly begun. The gates of history. Beneath the chaos, a rumble echoed from the heart of Pangaea Castle. The team of archaeologists and warriors led by Nico Robin had descended into the Forgotten Library, a forbidden chamber sealed since the Void Century. Torches flickered along walls covered in ancient script. Robin gasped as she traced one of the walls. This predates even the poneglyphs." Vivi, Cobra's daughter, stood beside her, shocked. "What do you mean?" Robin stepped forward. "This was the core of the ancient kingdom. Before it fell. It's their last message." The words burned themselves into her mind. "The Joy Boy. If you awaken, know that we failed. But you can succeed. The weapon is buried beneath the gods. Uranus. Is alive." The stone pall surged. The ground shook. And something ancient and mechanical stirred from below. Sanji and Jin versus Warcury. Clash of Titans. Outside, Saint Warcury rampaged like a living colossus, stomping buildings to rubble with every step. He held a mammoth war spear inscribed with celestial runes, and his eyes glowed with wrath. Facing him. Sanji and Jin, battered but burning with resolve. "You go high, I go low." Sanji smirked. Like always, Jin grinned. Warcury roared and brought down his spear like judgment. Jin caught the blow with fishman karate, sending shockwaves rippling through the earth. Sanji, legs ablaze with blue fire, rocketed upward and slammed a diable jam concasse into Warcury's face. The celestial beast barely flinched. Instead, Warcury grabbed Sanji midair and crushed him into the ground, creating a massive crater. "Sanji!" Jin yelled. But then a voice growled through the dust. "Don't touch my suit, you freak." Sanji stood, cracked but smiling, the raid suit armor crackling with HAKI and fire. Jin smiled grimly. Time for double damage. Together, they launched a coordinated assault, water and flame, martial discipline and raw passion, crashing into Warcury like a tidal volcano. The Titan finally groaned and staggered, blood like ichor spilling from his mouth. Blackbeard arrives. The vulture circles. High above, riding the back of a monster sea king torn from the comm belt, Marshal D. Teach arrived at last. He laughed as he gazed down at the burning Holy Land. Zahahaha. The perfect chaos. With him stood Katarina Devon. Effete. Sanwin Wolf. Vasco shot. The powered-up Kuzen, now fully committed. Blackbeard cracked his knuckles. Time to claim the throne while the children play. His target wasn't Imu. Not yet. It was Uranus. Uranus awakens. In the depths of Mary Geoise, what the world thought was myth began to rise. A machine the size of an island, covered in vines and stone, lifted from the earth, its core pulsing with a blue sun. Uranus, the ancient weapon of the sky, long buried beneath the god's palace, activated. Lightning scorched the clouds. Winds howled across the globe. Suddenly, from all over the world, islands, nations, seas, transponders buzzed alive. People watched in horror as the red line seemed to break apart piece by piece. The world was cracking. Robin versus Mars. The light of knowledge. Back inside the castle ruins, Robin found herself facing St. Marcus Mars, now a celestial wraith flickering through dimensions, speaking in riddles and madness. "Your knowledge. And I am oblivion." Robin summoned her largest gigantesco mono, yet hundreds of arms forming a spiral wheel of defense. "You won't erase history," she said calmly. "You've already lost." Mars replied by hurling stars like comets, destructive energy blasts that shattered stone and minds alike. But Robin endured, using her poneglyph hands to shield herself and press forward. Then, using knowledge and precision, she attacked with a technique she'd never dared before. Will Fleur. Eternal Seal. She wrapped the Geoise in living stone arms born from ancient script, locking his body inside a collapsing sigil drawn from the Forgotten Library. Marcus Mars screamed then vanished in a flash of white light. Luffy awakens. Xebec speared. Above it all, Luffy stood on a spire of broken rubble, facing Imu. His body flickered between Gear 5 and something new. Not just Joy Boy. Not just Nika. But something. Darker. Deeper. Memories not his own flickered in his mind, a man laughing in the void, surrounded by flames, God screaming his name. Rox D. Xebec. And from within him, Luffy felt it. The pulse. The will. An inheritance of chaos. You're my son. The voice didn't speak aloud. It echoed inside him. Imu attacked again, this time with a blade of erasure, a weapon that could wipe someone from existence. But Luffy caught the blade with one hand. His HAKI flared golden, black and violet all at once. Gear 6. His eyes gleamed. Ragnarok. He vanished from sight. The Straw Hat Grand Fleet arrives. The skies ripped apart. Out of the clouds surged thousands of sails, a whirlwind of banners waving the Straw Hat symbol. Cavendish, Bartolomeo, Orlumbus, Sai, Leo, and their crews all charged into the Holy Land, with weapons drawn and cannons blazing. For the captain. For Luffy Senpai. For freedom. From the seas came giants from Elbaf and ships guided by fishmen. In the sky, dragons from Wano carried minks and samurai. The world had heard Luffy's call and they answered. As Blackbeard turned to claim Uranus, he found his path blocked by hundreds of united pirate crews under one name. Monkey D. Luffy. Dragon and Garp, father and son. In the heart of the battlefield, Monkey D. Dragon stood bloodied but unbowed. Facing him. CP0 elites and Geoise hounds. Beside him, staggering forward was Garp, battered from Hachinosu but alive, wielding a fist still coated in Conqueror's HAKI. Dragon smiled. Old man. Garp smirked. Took you long enough. Then, without words, they launched themselves forward, father and son fighting back to back for the future of the world. Kuma's last stand. As Uranus's systems began powering up, a massive blast, ready to erase an entire sea, one figure teleported into its core reactor. Bartholomew Kuma. Bonnie screamed, trying to stop him. But Kuma only smiled. You gave me my heart again. Now let me protect yours. He pressed his hand to the core, using his pawpaw fruit not to repel matter, but to absorb its final strike. The explosion that could destroy an ocean. Vanished into his chest. Kuma disintegrated in a final flash of light. Bonnie collapsed, whispering, Daddy. Luffy vs Imu, Joy Boy vs the Shadow King. On the shattered roof of Pangaea Castle, Luffy faced Imu, who had shed their human form. They now floated like a specter, wings of black flame stretching into the storm, surrounded by void energy and stars falling like tears. Imu held the sword of silence. Luffy held nothing but his fists and the will of the world behind him. You're a mistake, Imu said. You were never meant to be born. Luffy smirked. Yeah? Well, I'm here anyway. With a burst of energy, Luffy surged forward in Gear 6. Ragnarok. His body crackled with the power of Joy Boy's son and Xebec's void. Time warped around his fists. Sound bent. Imu struck first, erasing Luffy's arm, but it regrew, covered in Conqueror's HAKI and pulsing like thunder. The battlefield shattered. Stars fell. Lightning coiled through the sky. Each punch from Luffy ripped apart centuries of power. Each counter from Imu tried to erase legacy itself. But Luffy kept smiling. I'm not Joy Boy. I'm not Xebec. I'm Luffy. And this world belongs to everyone, not you. The final secret of the ancient kingdom. Robin, bleeding, breathing, victorious, found the final record beneath the forbidden library. A hidden poneglyph protected by thousands of layered arms only she could summon. She read it aloud. The One Piece is not gold or power. It is unity. It is the dream of a world without thrones, where all are free. The room shook. Light spilled across the globe. The world listened. Luffy's last blow. Imu launched a final technique. Total erasure, and ability to wipe Luffy from memory, from time, from possibility. But Luffy grinned, cracked his knuckles, and summoned every drop of will in his bloodline, the Sun God's light, the Pirate King's dream, and the demon of the rock's unbreakable rage. Gomu Gomu no. Daikai Ragnarok. He struck Imu with a final world-shattering punch, a blow that didn't just hit the body, but shattered their connection to the void century itself. Imu screamed. Then vanished. The skies cleared. Epilogue. The world without kings. Mary Geoise burned. The celestial dragons had fallen. The red line cracked. The world government was in ruins. Luffy stood, breathing hard, friends behind him, enemies fallen. Bonnie knelt beside the spot where Kuma vanished. Robin held the poneglyph close to her chest. Garp rested his hand on Dragon's shoulder. And far above, the ancient weapon Uranus, now silent, was sealed forever. The world trembled. And then began to heal. Smoke still rose from the ruins of Mary Geoise. The sacred land, once thought untouchable, now lay broken and bleeding. The banners of the celestial dragons, stained with soot and ash, fluttered weakly in the high-altitude winds. The once immortal Imu was gone. The 5 elders had scattered, some dead, some fleeing into the shadows. The world government had fallen. And atop the highest tower, where centuries of oppression had once stood tall, a young man with a straw hat stood alone. His clothes were torn. His chest rose and fell, slowly, steadily. But his eyes, those eyes burned with something ancient. Something furious. Something inherited. Monkey D. Luffy no, Xebec D. Luffy now looked over the crumbling world beneath him. Far below, the sea of clouds that once wrapped Mary Geoise like a divine veil had been ripped apart. The people of the world watched from their den mushy, stunned into silence. In Fishman Island, children cried in the arms of their mothers, seeing the celestial throne fall. In Alabasta, Vivi stood with trembling hands, tears sliding silently down her cheeks. In Elbaf, the giants roared in disbelief. The gods had fallen. But something worse was rising. The revolutionaries tended to the wounded. Sabo moved through the battlefield with bandages wrapped around his waist, his face caked with dried blood. He stopped as he saw Dragon slumped against a wall, still breathing but barely conscious. "They did it," Sabo whispered. "We actually did it." Beside him, Kola didn't answer. Her eyes were locked on the distant silhouette of Luffy. "He's not coming back with us, is he?" Sabo's silence said everything. Nico Robin stood quietly near the shattered corpse of Saturn. Her eyes lingered on the mangled body of the Geoise, but her thoughts were far elsewhere. "He called me the child of O'Hara." Even now, they feared the truth. She glanced toward Luffy, toward the man who bore the will of Joy Boy and the blood of Rox D. Xebec. For the first time in centuries, the truth would be written not in books, but in fire and blood. At the heart of Mariejois, deep in the ruins of Pangaea Castle, a secret chamber opened. Vegapunk's last automaton, driven by a code Luffy unknowingly activated, walked into the light, its memory banks humming. "Protocol. Xebec." It spoke. The golden orb rose from the floor. Within it, a memory, encrypted in living light. The last message of Rox D. Xebec. Meanwhile, across the new world. Whole Cake Island. Big Mom's remaining children, those who hadn't died in Wano, watched the events unfold in disbelief. Perospero dropped his candy cane. Smoothie took a step back, pale. This wasn't supposed to happen," she whispered. "No more celestial dragons," Tefuku said. "Then who's in charge?" "Achinosu Pirate Island." Blackbeard stood in front of a roaring crowd of pirates. His grin was unusually subdued. "So the Brad actually did it." He clenched his fist. "Imu's gone. That throne is wide open now." His voice roared like cannon fire. "If Xebec's son wants it, he'll have to take it from me." Brad 4 somewhere in the comm belt. Shanks stared at the den feed. His grip on his sword tightened. Beside him, Ben Beckman smoked silently. "He didn't hesitate," Beckman said. "He burned it all." Shanks nodded slowly. "It's time." "Time for what?" Yassip asked. Shanks turned, and the weight in his gaze was heavy. "For me to tell Luffy who I really am." Back in the ruins of Mariejois, Luffy descended from the tower. Every step echoed like thunder in the silence. Revolutionaries, straw hats, wounded marines, and freed slaves all turned to face him. No one said a word. Even Zoro stood still, sheathing his sword with deliberate calm. Sanji lit a cigarette but didn't speak. Usopp and Chopper, still trembling, watched their captain walk past without a word. Only Jin finally said something. "Captain? What now?" Luffy stopped walking. "I don't know," he said simply. But in that voice was something ancient. Something no one had ever heard before, not from Roger, not from Whitebeard, not even from Dragon. And that voice was Xebec. Flashback. 50 years ago, God Valley. Rox D. Xebec stood at the edge of the cliff, watching the chaos unfold. Garp and Roger were closing in. He was wounded, his men falling. But in his arms was a child. He looked down at the boy, his son, and whispered. "One day, the world will hate you. They'll say your blood is cursed. But you'll smile anyway. Won't you?" The infant laughed. Xebec's teeth bared in a grin. "I don't need to win. I just need to plant the seed." He looked toward the rising sun. "You'll carry the will of D further than any of us." Present day Grand Line. The world was spinning. Without the world government, the balance of power shattered. Islands once under protection were now lawless. Pirate crews began forming alliances or tearing each other apart. The Yonko system was no longer relevant. Blackbeard had declared himself emperor of the world. Buggy, true to form, called himself king of liberty and started his own printing press. And Luffy? He disappeared. The Straw Hats had scattered for the first time since Abadi. But this time, it wasn't a loss. It was choice. Raftel 1 month later. The final road poneglyph had been uncovered in the ruins of Mary Geoise. Robin had deciphered it. Frankie built a ship enhancement. Nami charted the path. And then, they found it. Laughed Tail. The truth. The world before the void century. Joy Boy. The betrayal. And the greatest secret of all. There was never meant to be one pirate king. There were supposed to be two. Joy Boy. And the judge. The one who would tear down the gods. The one named Xebec. As Luffy stood on the shores of Laugh Tale, wind in his hair, sea behind him, memories flooding his mind, he finally understood what the D truly meant. Danger. Dawn. Doom. Destiny. All of them. And none of them. He closed his eyes. A voice echoed not from within, but from long ago. Luffy, Roger's voice said from an old recording, if you ever get this far. Laugh. Laugh for what we lost, and for what you're about to choose. Luffy didn't laugh. He cried. Then, he smiled. 1 week later, New Marineford. The remnants of the world government had gathered. Admiral Kizaru, Vice Admiral Smoker, and the surviving Cipher Pole stood together. They'd captured some revolutionaries. There was talk of rebuilding. Then the sea split. Not figuratively. Literally. A ship of dark steel rose from the waters, its mast crowned with a skull that bore no flag, only a blood-red D. At its helm stood Luffy, eyes shadowed beneath his hat. Zoro beside him, swords ready. Sanji, cigarette in mouth. Robin, unreadable. Jin, solemn. Usopp, determined. Frankie, armored. Brook, silent. Nami, crying. And at their feet, the coffin of Dragon. The gift from Blackbeard. Luffy stepped onto the shore. Kizaru flashed forward but stopped. Not from fear. But because Luffy raised his hand and the sea itself rippled. The earth pulsed. But this time, it was different. The second oar layered over it. A black storm, not of HAKI, but of memory. An echo of Xebec's power. The power not just of rubber but of rebellion. Not Joy Boy. Not Xebec. Something new. Something terrifying. Luffy looked at Kizaru. No more kings, he said. Then everything exploded. Final scene, unnamed island. Deep beneath an ancient tree, a figure in red hair waited. Shanks. In his hand, a letter from Vegapunk delivered just before the doctor died. A single line. Xebec's ghost has returned. But he's not here to rule. He's here to decide who deserves to. Shanks stood, eyes shadowed. It's time. He unsheathed his blade. Time to test if Luffy's will is his own. The sea was silent. Not calm silent. 1,000 sunny cut through the vast emptiness, the log pose glowing with an eerie golden light. There was no wind, no waves, only the breathless tension of the ocean, as if the world itself was holding its breath. They had arrived. The final island. Laughed Tail. Usopp was the first to break the silence. Do you guys feel that? Like. The air's heavy. Frankie tightened his grip on the helm, eyes scanning the strange curvature of the island in the distance. A jagged landmass, haloed by golden mist and black swirling clouds, rose from the water like a monument left behind by gods. Robin closed her eyes. It's not just heavy. It's ancient. The void century. It's all here. Luffy stood at the bow, his straw hat tilted slightly as wind returned, tousling his hair. The air was thick with purpose. With legacy. And with a familiar haunting echo, a will that stirred deep in his blood, awake for the first time. Let's go, he said. I want to hear what the world's been hiding. They landed on the coast, the sunny gently resting on a beach of obsidian sand. The jungle ahead shimmered like starlight even though no sun shone above. The trees whispered secrets. Statues of unfamiliar gods lined the path, their eyes weeping streams of silver water. As the Straw Hats moved forward, their footsteps echoed like drumbeats on a battlefield. Each of them felt it, the gravity of this place. Laugh Tail wasn't laughing. It was waiting. Deep within the island stood a towering door carved into a mountain, its surface etched with poneglyphs glowing blue. Robin's voice trembled as she translated. The day the world ended. The day the king fell. The day the D's were betrayed. Luffy approached the door. It opened on its own. Inside, a long corridor stretched before them. On the walls murals. On the floor bones. And ahead, pulsing like a heartbeat, a great sphere of golden energy floating above a stone pedestal. Robin gasped. This is it. This is the memory of the world. Luffy stepped forward. Luffy, Zoro said, are you sure you're ready for this? Luffy didn't answer. He simply touched the pedestal. And then everything went white. 800 years ago. Luffy stood in a field of fire. The golden-haired man, tall and noble, stood surrounded by bodies. His armor cracked. His eyes defiant. The symbol on his chest read only. Joy Boy. Before him, swords raised, stood 20 kings, the ancestors of the celestial dragons. At their center stood a woman cloaked in shadow. Her presence felt like suffocation. You betrayed me, Joy Boy whispered. You would have destroyed the order, the woman replied. The world was not ready. He looked down. In his hand was a straw hat, old, torn, but filled with love. Then I will entrust it to the next. Who bears my will. My soul. My dream. And then Joy Boy fell. The woman stepped forward. Erase his name. Erase his kingdom. Rewrite the world. The memory shattered. Another emerged. 50 years later. The monstrous ship, the behemoth, cut through the seas. On its deck stood a man cloaked in black, hair wild, eyes burning. Laughing. Rox D. Xebec. The world burned around him. But what the world never saw, what the memory showed, was the tears in his eyes as he stood before a red stone, reading the truth of Joy Boy's final stand. They lied to us all, Xebec growled. They painted him a traitor. But he was the only one who dared dream beyond the cage. The voice spoke beside him. So what will you do? Xebec turned. Inherit his will. Wake the D's. Burn the world that chained him. And he did. But the world called him a devil. And then he too fell, betrayed by his crew. His son taken. His name erased. But not his will. Never his will. Luffy gasped, staggering back. Robin caught him. Luffy. I saw him, Luffy said. Joy Boy. My dad. They weren't what the world says they were. He looked up at the floating sphere. The truth, the entire history had been preserved here. And now it had passed to him. Beyond the truth, a single stone door remained. Luffy opened it. Inside was a throne made of stone. Upon it sat the last guardian, a man whose body shimmered like glass, held together by HAKI alone. You've come, the guardian rasped. At last. The child of both wills. Joy Boy's soul. And Xebec's blood. Luffy frowned. Who are you? I was the first to betray Joy Boy. I was one of the 20. But I stayed behind. To wait. To witness the one who could finish what he began. He pointed to Luffy. You're that one. Suddenly, the room began to rumble. Far away, the skies of the world turned red. Robin clutched her chest. This is the signal. What signal? Sanji asked. The final war, she said. The will of D. has awakened. Meanwhile, across the world. At Marine HQ, AKAINU watched the skies darken. He's reached it. That brat. Damn you, dragon. And damn you, Xebec. On Elbaf, Shanks clenched his fists. It's time. The boys awakened it. At Hachinosu, Blackbeard laughed like a madman. Zahahaha. Luffy. Brother. So you finally heard his voice too. Good. Now let's finish what our father started. And on the moon, Enel watched his screens. The world shakes again. Back on Laugh Tale, the ground cracked open. The great sphere of memory broke, and from it rose a figure of pure will. Not a ghost. Not a soul. A manifestation. Of Rox D. Xebec. Towering, eyes burning with inherited rage and clarity, he looked down at Luffy. So. My son. You've seen it now. Luffy stood firm. I'm not you. I'm me. Xebec laughed. I never asked you to be me. But the world will make you choose. Will you finish what Joy Boy started? Or burn it all to the ground? I'll be Pirate King, Luffy said. And I'll destroy the chains that hold the world. But not for revenge. For freedom. Xebec paused. And for the first time smiled. And go. The throne awaits. And so do the enemies who will never let you sit on it. The vision vanished. Back outside, the straw hat stood at the cliff overlooking the world. The light burst from Laugh Tale into the sky seen across the seas. The will of D had returned. The truth had awakened. And in the distance, fleets moved. Armies gathered. Shanks drew his blade. Blackbeard readied his darkness. The last admirals rose. But on the shore, Luffy turned to his crew. It's time, he said. To end the world government. To free everyone. To change everything. And together, the Straw Hat stepped forward. Toward the final war. The world had shifted beneath their feet. The final island, Laugh Tale, had revealed its secrets, the weight of history pressing on Luffy's shoulders like a storm cloud. But even as the Straw Hats took their first steps toward reshaping the world, the darkness was stirring an old shadow, fueled by hatred and ambition. At the edge of the new world, far beyond the reach of most, the fortress Behemoth's skull loomed like a specter. Within its blackened halls, a man sat upon a throne forged from the bones of forgotten enemies, a cruel grin twisting across his scarred face. Marshal D. Teach, known as Blackbeard, had waited for this moment, a moment when the world would finally be ripe for his ascension. Xebec's son walks the path I was meant to take, Teach murmured, fingers tapping the armrest. But the world will kneel before me, not him. His dark eyes glimmered with malice. Around him, his crew prepared their wills as unyielding as his own. The crystal of darkness, a new power born from the depths of the ancient will, pulsed in his grasp. The summons echoed through the void, an invitation to war. Luffy stood on the deck of the Thousand Sunny, the wind tugging at his straw hat. The sun dipped low, casting long shadows across the sea. The air was thick with tension, as if the very world held its breath. Sanji, you feeling alright? Luffy asked, sensing the unease radiating from his crewmate. Sanji exhaled slowly, eyes narrowed. I've never been more ready for a fight. Zoro leaned against the mast, one hand on the hilt of Enma. Blackbeard's coming. And he's bringing hell with him. Robin approached, her calm gaze fixed on the horizon. The legacy of Rox D. Xebec hangs heavy over this conflict. It's more than just a battle, it's a war of wills. Yin nodded solemnly. We must be prepared. Blackbeard won't hold back. Luffy's jaw clenched. Then we won't either. The skies darkened as Blackbeard's fleet appeared on the horizon, a sea of black sails and ominous banners. The behemoth skull led the charge, its massive form cutting through the waves like a beast unleashed. Straw hats. Teach's voice thundered across the water, amplified by HAKI. Your captain has played with fire. Now he will burn. With a roar, the two forces collided. The sea exploded with energy flashes of HAKI and devil fruit power lighting the battlefield. Luffy charged forward, gear 4th activated, muscles bulging with power. Teach met him head-on, wielding the crystal of darkness, a swirling mass of black energy that seemed to consume light itself. Their fists collided, sending shockwaves rippling through the ocean. You're strong, boy, Teach sneered. But you're still just a child playing at a king. Luffy's eyes blazed. I'm the son of Xebec. And I'll show you what that means. The fight escalated, devil fruit powers clashing, HAKI colliding, the sea itself trembling beneath their fury. Across the battlefield, the Straw Hats fought fiercely, their bonds tested like never before. Zoro and Hawkins exchanged blows, steel ringing against steel as their wills clashed. Sanji danced through the fray, a whirlwind of kicks and flames, defending his friends with unwavering resolve. Robin's intellect and HAKI kept the crew a step ahead, unraveling Teach's strategies. Jin's mastery of fishman karate controlled the waves, turning the tide of battle. Every member fought not just for survival, but for the future they believed in. As the battle raged, Teach tapped deeper into the crystal of darkness, its power consuming him, transforming his form into a monstrous entity of shadow and malice. Luffy sensed the change, the abyssal power threatening to swallow the world. Summoning every ounce of his strength, Luffy called upon Gear 5th, a radiant explosion of freedom and willpower. Light clashed against darkness in a titanic struggle that shook the heavens. In the heart of the chaos, a voice echoed, the voice of Rox D. Xebec himself, resonating through the storm. You carry my blood, Luffy. But you must choose your own path. Will you be the flame that burns the world clean? Or the shadow that devours all? Luffy gritted his teeth, determination blazing. I'm neither. I'm the dawn after the darkness. But the final earth-shattering punch, Luffy shattered the crystal of darkness, breaking Teach's hold over the abyss. The battle ended not with a victor's cheer, but with the promise of a new era. As dawn broke over the battlefield, the Straw Hats regrouped, battered but unbroken. Teach lay defeated, but his words lingered like a warning. The world will not fall so easily. Luffy looked to the horizon, the sun rising behind him. This is just the beginning.